Hello everyone, in tonight's video we will deal with repairing a UPS, which does not charge batteries. Let's quickly take a look at what the UPS consists of, first of all. Here we see the input, which takes 220V. We see a small board inside that handles smoothing. And it consists of inductors, capacitors, and filters. These are filters for the 220V. Next, we will observe another small board next to it that resembles the power supply. It basically is a power supply and is used for charging the battery. And here on the heatsink is the inverter, which converts the battery voltage to 220V. And it provides it at its output. From the backside, we see the batteries. It has 312V on top. It takes the specific LiPo batteries in series, giving a total of 36V. The inverter converts these 36V into 220V. The problem with these QPS units is that the batteries have been replaced. Initially, it didn't work, and as soon as the batteries discharged, it stopped, meaning it doesn't charge the batteries, while the inverter works, producing a normal 220V output. So our problem is not with the inverter. The issue is probably with the charging board. Right here, which normally, once the inverter receives 220V, it should output a voltage above 30V here, and then charge the batteries through the red and black cables right here. These cables belong to the batteries. If I open the side panel now, then after I remove the side panel, I will definitely see if it is what I say is incorrect, because I will see exactly how the circuit measures, if it needs to be set to 220, or if the front button needs to be pressed to start. But I suppose the most likely thing is that the charging board is the first component. So I will open the UPS, remove the board, and we will continue shortly. So here we are, I have removed the board. I notice that in the upper circuit, once you apply 200V, it goes directly to the 220V board. Therefore, its output must exceed 30V to start charging batteries as soon as the load is connected. So its input is here at the 4 pins we see, and we observe that it is a simple pulse power supply, which is the primary on this side, and the secondary winding is here after the input transformer. As we observe it, this is the rectifier, the rectification down here. And we look to find the oscillator and obviously a switch. The oscillator is this integrated circuit here, and the little transistor does the job of a switch. Obviously, the oscillator is this integrated circuit, and the little transistor does the job of the switch. And here we see some optocouplers, which regulate the output voltage, depending on how much voltage the batteries have. And they also have here on the heatsink, above the rectification and its smoothing. So this is the transformer. At the input now, to start taking measurements, I will solder a wire to connect it to 220V and see if it outputs voltage or not. So I will solder a wire. Here at the top where the input is, we will measure the voltage at the output on the capacitor above after smoothing to see if it produces voltage. If I take a quick look at the printed circuit board below, it is right here. From what I see, these are the 2 right diagonals, and here are the strong ones. I will measure these pins to see if they output 30V. It should practically output over 30V. But depending on the situation, the voltage can start at 30V and depending on the battery voltage. Through the coupler, it can rise to 38V or 40V depending on how unloaded the batteries are. I expect to find around 30V over there. If it shows about 30V, I'm correct. So I put the jumper, I have 0V here. Let me measure the input to see if the 220V is coming correctly. So here we have 0V at the main circuit at the consumer. I'm measuring my input, the 220V. I see that I have 219V, so it receives input normally if I connect the lines now after the rectification. I will check if it outputs DC voltage after the rectification. I see that I have 196V. If I measure directly, it's 197 VDC, so it passes after the rectification. I continue with my circuit. I see it goes to the transformer above, and the transformer continues operating. So I measure here on the first pin with the multimeter, and also here. (197V) and on the transistor above, where the 197V normally goes. Transistor. From here on, I assume the problem is the oscillator. It isn't oscillating for the transistor to function. And I will measure now on the oscillator. I see it has a capacitor here, which should logically be its power supply. If I measure across this capacitor, I should have some voltage for the oscillator to start working. I see that I have 7.8V here. I have 7.8V at the oscillator. So the oscillator is getting power. I suppose it is not outputting oscillations. To see this, we can observe it with an oscilloscope, if, of course, the oscillation occurs. But most likely, the integrated circuit has a problem with the oscillation since it receives voltage. And I also have all the 220 volts on the board. I should have some oscillation at least, so the oscilloscope begins to show me an output voltage. At least my prototype starts to output a voltage, even if small. Now, something else I could measure. I will put clips on if its leg is soldered correctly. The one leg that goes on to the soldering. And if its base is connected, the gate, because it is a MOSFET, with the integrated circuit on, with the leg of the integrated circuit. So let's measure current. Let's check resistance a bit to see if one leg of the integrated circuit, the transistor, is grounded. Because there is also a resistor between the ground. Maybe that resistor is damaged. So I see its casing is the rectifier diode that will output from here. I must have a short circuit at one leg of the transistor. So the other thing I can do is open the data sheet of the specific integrated circuit. This is it. We see that on the outer leg is the output, so this outer leg must connect to the gate of the MOSFET. Through a resistor, we see here on the PCB, I'll measure it to confirm it's about 27 ohms, so this resistor is also correct. So the distributor sends signal to the MOSFET above. So we understand that the distributor is broken, the specific one. Now we can still do another measurement with the oscilloscope. Since we know the output of the integrated circuit, let's check it on the oscilloscope to see if it produces a waveform around 220 volts, and I can take measurements on the primary of the pulse transformer. Without risking burning something. Because if this particular oscilloscope was plugged in, it would cause a ground short circuit with the primary winding. So I would have a problem. We need to know this for all oscilloscopes that plug into the main socket. So I will connect its ground to the anode. To the winding of the anode. I will attach a small wire here so I can hold my ribbon. Then I will measure with the probe on the small outlet of the ceiling-mounted device to check for any oscillation. To continue. All right, I put on the socket. And I go to the small outlet right on the hung device. It's here. And I see that it produces nothing. It is completely dead. It is powered from what we saw by voltage. It should produce some oscillation there to get the oscillator working, even with the wrong voltage. It might have produced some oscillation here, but not the correct output voltage. So it will also have a problem with the optocouplers that regulate the oscillator input. So let's replace the integrated circuit and continue shortly. I'm going to take a look. Great. Here we are again. We have replaced the integrated circuit. Let's see what we get with the multimeter. I will plug in and measure here on the small chip. I see that I have 39 volts here. It now outputs 39.5 volts, so we see the side panel. That was finally the root of the problem. It even reaches 40 volts. Now when it touches on top, and also look at the batteries. Obviously the voltage will drop a bit. I don't think these reach 40 volts because the batteries are 36 volts. So it will start with a lower voltage and will rise up to 40 volts. Well, it will start with a lower voltage and then rise up to 40. We will now also look with the ballimograph. Let's check the debugger to see what it should be showing us. What the integrated circuit should be showing us. The integrated circuit, yes. I will connect it here, attaching the crocodile clip named Simon to ground. I will go to the integrated circuit smart pin. We see that we have some noise at the top. If we adjust the oscilloscope a bit, we can see it a little better. I'll lower the volts a bit. And I'll also adjust the time a bit. Here we see the pulses. The frequency is not fixed because it depends on the command from the coupler. Specifically, what it will draw from the batteries, and accordingly, it changes the frequency, which in turn changes the output voltage. Let's proceed now. So here we are again. I have connected it. I will try to see if and how it outputs. To charge the batteries, the device is plugged into the socket on the specific UPS. The only thing I've done is plug it in. I haven't pressed anything to turn it on because, as far as I know, you don't need to press anything. It's always directly 220 volts for this charger. I see here that it normally outputs 38 volts, which as you can see is intermittent. It drops between 28 and 38 volts, pulsing to charge the batteries, so it works. And the reason why you would want it. We will open it. Let's also watch it live here. We see that now I have simply plugged it in. We see that it is charging the battery. Its indicator is also blinking. And if I press to turn it on remotely as well, it has started working as well. That was the video. If you liked it, you can follow me on my YouTube channel or on the website EKelectronics.gr or in the Facebook group. Thank you from your Facebook. Thank you very much.